Welcome back to Galaxy Recaps. Today we'll be diving into a sci-fi action thriller film titled The Dark Tower. Enjoy the recap. In the world of the Midworld, Walter Paddock, a powerful and ruthless sorcerer, is on a dark mission. He captures children from various realms including Earth, targeting those with psychic abilities. These children are then harnessed to a sinister device he's built, intending to use their powers to weaken the Dark Tower, the structure that stands at the center of the universe, protecting all realms from the encroaching darkness. If the Dark Tower falls, so does everything. Jake Chambers, a young boy plagued by intense dreams, awakens from a nightmare during an earthquake. In his dreams, he sees the man in black attempting to bring down the Dark Tower, but the adults around him dismiss these visions as mere nightmares, especially after his father's recent death. His stepfather watches the news about the strange earthquakes, while his mother, Lori, insists he attend his after-school appointment with Dr. Hotchkiss, a psychiatrist. Throughout the day, Jake is haunted by these visions. In school, he faces ridicule for his dark apocalyptic drawings of the tower and the man in black, leading to a minor altercation. During his session with Dr. Hotchkiss, Jake reveals that he believes these earthquakes are linked to attacks on the Dark Tower. While the doctor attributes Jake's dreams to trauma, Jake remains convinced that the stakes are higher and far more sinister. Later, while waiting for his bus, Jake encounters a man with strange, fake-looking skin, just like the ones from his visions. A homeless man suddenly warns him to stay away from people like that, saying they're always on the lookout for children like him. Back home, Lori informs him about a special clinic that reached out to help kids in distress, suggesting he spend the weekend there. Reluctantly, Jake agrees, even as he senses that his visions are more than just dreams, they're warnings. That night, Jake decides to clear his mind by taking down all his unsettling drawings, hoping it'll stop the disturbing visions of the man in black and the apocalyptic world he keeps seeing. But in his sleep, he's pulled right back, finding himself in the Midworld once more. This time, he sees not only Walter, the sinister figure he fears, but also Roland, a gunslinger. In his vision, Roland seems unaffected by Walter's dark magic, while his father, unable to resist, falls to Walter's power. The vision shifts and Jake glimpses a mysterious mansion, waking up the next morning with an inexplicable certainty that this mansion is real and close. Driven by the need to confirm its existence, Jake posts online hoping someone might recognize the place in New York. Just then, his stepfather-in-law announces that the clinic representatives have arrived to pick him up. Meeting Jill, the intake supervisor, and Toby, the driver, Jake quickly realizes that they have fake skin, just like the people he's seen in his dreams. He tries to warn his mother, but Law cuts him off. Lori reassures him, promising that if he ever feels unsafe at the clinic, she'll come to get him right away. Just then, Jake notices a reply to his online post, confirming that the mansion from his vision is indeed in Brooklyn. With new purpose, he agrees to go to the clinic, but secretly plans to escape. Once inside the clinic's bathroom, Jake uses the excuse of retrieving his toothbrush to escape through the window. Jill realizes his intent and instructs Toby to follow him, leading to a thrilling chase across rooftops and down fire escapes. Jake skillfully evades them, heading straight for the Brooklyn mansion. When he reaches it, he finds the building abandoned, just as in his visions. Jake sneaks inside and, following an intense sense of familiarity, discovers a portal leading to the Midworld. Drawn in, he is transported, beginning an incredible journey across realms. At that moment, Walter, ever watchful, senses an unauthorized crossing from Earth. Intrigued, he prepares to investigate, heading to his own portal. Meanwhile, in Midworld, Jake stumbles upon Roland, the gunslinger he saw in his vision. Recognizing him, Jake eagerly tries to gain Roland's attention, but Roland initially appears indifferent. Desperate, Jake mentions the man in black, and Roland's demeanor shifts. Realizing Jake knows something about his mortal enemy, he warns Jake to tell him everything. Jake shows him a drawing of the man in black from his visions, explaining that he has been seeing glimpses of Midworld for over a year. Recognizing a valuable lead, Roland proposes they consult a seer in a nearby village who may interpret Jake's visions and help locate Walter's base. Together, they set off through the vast wilderness, an uneasy alliance forming as they prepare to face the unknown dangers and dark powers of the Midworld. In New York, Walter arrives at the abandoned Brooklyn mansion where Jake crossed over and finds a small splinter of wood with Jake's blood on it. He brings it to one of his lackeys, demanding information about this mysterious person. To Walter's delight, a single taste reveals that the blood belongs to someone with pure shine, a powerful psychic ability potent enough to destroy the Dark Tower entirely, giving Walter an unstoppable weapon if he can capture Jake. Meanwhile, in the forests of the Midworld, Roland and Jake encounter the Taheen, creatures who serve Walter. They hide, letting them pass. Before resuming their journey to the village, they pause to eat, and Roland shares the tragic tale of the final stand of the Gunslingers and his father's death at Walter's hand, which left him as the last of his kind burdened with protecting the Dark Tower. As they talk, Walter tracks down Jill and Toby in New York, forcing them to reveal Jake's home address, bringing him one step closer to capturing the boy. Later, Jake grows curious about the meaning behind his visions and sketches the Dark Tower with the surrounding circle of realms. Roland explains that all realms exist within this circle, with the Dark Tower standing at the center, safeguarding them from dark forces outside. Walter's goal is to bring down the tower, breaking the barrier and unleashing monstrous entities he hopes to control. That night, Jake is awakened by an earthquake that Roland calls a beamquake. Roland explains that these tremors are a result of attacks on the tower, and that these quakes echo even into Jake's world. Hours later, Jake is startled awake by a voice calling his name. It sounds like his father. Drawn by the familiar voice, he ventures into the dark forest, stunned to see his father standing there. But as they reach out to touch hands, his father's figure twists, transforming into a horrifying creature. At that moment, Roland arrives, firing at the monster as it shifts back into the form of Jake's father. He warns Jake that the creature is using illusions, drawing on their weaknesses and fears to manipulate them. On their way back to camp, Roland explains that each hit on the Dark Tower allows monsters from outside the circle to slip into Midworld. Just as he finishes, another beast attacks, lunging out from the shadows. Roland urges Jake to run to safety, battling the monster alone. But when the creature traps Roland, Jake musters the courage to free him by cutting through his bindings, allowing Roland to regain the upper hand. Roland rushes in just in time, firing a decisive shot that saves Jake's life once again. Meanwhile, back in New York, Laurie and Law return home after reporting Jake missing, only to find Walter waiting for them. Laurie immediately senses something familiar and dangerous about him, recognizing him from Jake's unsettling drawings. Her instincts prove correct as Walter swiftly kills Law. He then uses his dark powers to access Laurie's memories, studying Jake's sketches of the Midworld and Roland. Smirking, Walter cruelly mocks Laurie for sending her gifted son to an asylum instead of believing him. The following morning, in the Midworld, Roland and Jake continue their trek through the dense forest, eventually reaching a secluded village. Roland seeks help from Era, the village's most powerful seer, showing her Jake's drawings in the hope that she can reveal the location of Walter's facility. Meanwhile, Walter, with new determination, realizes that Jake's immense psychic power, or shine, could allow him to destroy the Dark Tower on his own. Deciding Jake is now critical to his plan, he deploys trackers to locate both Roland and Jake. As Era examines Jake's shine, she's astonished by its intensity, noting it's a power unlike any she has encountered. She explains that it's due to his shine that Jake was able to see into Midworld from Earth. Using her powers, Era determines that Walter's facility lies over 6 months' journey to the northern wastelands. Roland asks if there's a portal they can use to shorten their travel time, but Era warns that every portal is monitored by Walter. They would need access to one of his bases to avoid detection. Jake recalls Jill and Toby, reasoning there must be a base in New York they can use. Deciding to return to Earth, Roland requests Era send them back via the village's hidden portal. Over dinner, the villagers discuss Roland's request, divided over the risks. Some argue that helping Roland could bring danger to the village, fearing retribution from Walter if he discovers they hid a portal. Others note that disobeying a gunslinger is against their traditions. When Era reads Roland, however, she reveals a troubling discovery. Roland is no longer a true gunslinger because, in essence, Walter has taken his soul. Faced with the villagers' doubts, Roland speaks candidly. He admits that the war they think he should be fighting is already lost. The darkness has arrived, and it's only a matter of time before the Dark Tower falls, given the relentless attacks weakening it. Roland confesses that his drive now is purely personal, to seek revenge on Walter while he still can. With the villagers left to make their decision, Jake steps in and vouches for Roland, telling them that he owes his life to the gunslinger. Touched by Jake's words, Era and the others start to see Roland's resolve in a different light, torn between their fears and their respect for the last gunslinger. As everyone waits for the portal to align, the Taheen launch a brutal raid on the village, cutting off power and setting buildings ablaze. Amid the chaos, Roland tells Jake to hide as the Taheen go on a murderous rampage, killing anyone they encounter. Despite his injuries, Roland musters his strength, skillfully taking down several Taheen with his gun. Watching from afar through his magic, Walter realizes Roland is in the village, and notices that Roland's gun is forged from Excalibur steel, a weapon of legendary strength. Recognizing Jake as the powerful boy he seeks, Walter orders the Taheen to capture him. but Roland, pushing through his pain, eliminates every Taheen that dares approach Jake. As the portal aligns, Jake rushes to Roland, and together they step through, emerging in the bustling kitchen of a New York restaurant. Jake insists on getting Roland medical help, taking him to the hospital to treat his injuries. After some antibiotics and rest, Roland's condition improves and they leave the hospital. Trying to contact his mother, Lori, Jake grows increasingly worried when she doesn't answer. Back in Midworld, Walter interrogates Era, using his powers to compel her into revealing that Roland and Jake used the village portal to reach Earth. In New York, Jake remembers the homeless man's warning about the people with fake skin. Determined to learn more, he finds the man with Roland's help and uses his shine to read the man's mind, searching for knowledge about any hidden portals. Roland quickly stops him, cautioning Jake that using his shine could attract Walter's attention. The two then make their way to Jake's home, only to face a harrowing discovery. Law's lifeless body and Lori's charred remains. Fighting back tears, Roland urges Jake to close his mind to avoid being tracked by Walter. In a moment of raw vulnerability, Roland promises Jake that Walter will pay for his ruthless actions, swearing revenge. Seeing Jake's determination to protect his world, Roland begins to teach him the fundamentals of using a gun, passing down the sacred Gunslinger's creed, a powerful mantra that combines the mind and heart. As Jake grows in skill, Roland prepares him for the upcoming battle. After gathering ammunition, they are ambushed by Walter's magic. Though Walter is not physically present, he ensnares Roland, urging Jake to flee. Trapped and powerless, Roland endures a cruel taunting from Walter, who reminds him that everyone who stands by him ultimately meets a tragic end. Meanwhile, Jake is captured by Walter's men and taken to his base in the city, where he's finally brought face to face with the Dark Sorcerer. As they near the portal, Jake taps into his shine, reaching out to Roland and letting him know he's being taken to Walter's facility. Determined to rescue Jake, Roland blasts through Walter's men, fighting with ruthless precision. He leaves no one standing, setting off explosions along the way, creating chaos and destruction that echoes through the facility. As Jake is strapped into Walter's device, he resists with all his might, allowing only part of his shine to be siphoned. But even this limited energy is enough to damage the Dark Tower, causing reverberations visible even from New York. Roland, seeing the impact, fights harder, blasting through Walter's remaining forces. Jake, using his shine, keeps the portal open, determined to buy Roland enough time. Impressed by Jake's strength, Walter is forced to step through the portal himself, returning to New York to face Roland in person. The battle between Roland and Walter is fierce, a clash of bullets and magic. Though Roland is relentless, Walter deflects each attack with ease, using his powers to catch every bullet Roland fires. Eventually, Walter manages to knock Roland out. Witnessing the battle through the portal, Jake desperately uses his shine to call out to Roland, urging him to wake up. As Walter closes in for the final blow, Jake recites the Gunslinger creed, hoping to inspire Roland. Hearing the words, Roland gains the strength to stand, drawing on the power of the creed to fire a precise, powerful shot that finds its mark. With renewed determination, Roland fires repeatedly, relentlessly hitting Walter until he stumbles backward, falling through the portal and meeting his end. Free at last, Roland destroys Walter's device, obliterating the compound and saving both Earth and the Dark Tower. The children abducted by Walter are reunited with their families, while news reports struggle to explain the strange solar flare that lit up the skies. With his mission on Earth complete, Roland tells Jake that he must return to the Midworld and invites him to come along. Jake, having lost everything on Earth, eagerly agrees. Together, they step through the portal, leaving Earth behind to face new adventures side by side in the vast, mysterious realms of the Midworld. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.